Hey guys, it's Michael and Christian again for PowerShell 101 Part 7. Today we're basically going to be continuing what we did last time, which was we're going to be having a bit of a continuing on with our little mini project. This will basically be something that it'll be ongoing for quite some time. So, oh, I've got something's feeding back. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So, I think I'm just kind of getting everything sorted now. Yeah, cool. So what we can do is we pick up where we left off. Christian's working remotely. I've got a cold. Um, Christian's sick, and so yeah, I thought we'd just not give it to each other today. So yeah, it's going to be a fairly cash day. And we'll see how we go. Hopefully, we're not going to be too congested or um, too unable to do proper PowerShell. So I think, yeah, say good day, Christian. How's your day been, man? What's been happening, dude?
A few things I had to get. Yesterday though, I did one of the exams for TAFE
Oh, yeah, how'd you
because
go?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. How did you
It
think?
it
How did you
yeah.
feel you went?
I think I did pretty good. It was for the network infrastructure. So
Yeah, what kind of questions were they asking?
it started out with a lot of OHS stuff, which I was kind of shaking my head at.
Oh, yeah. I
Um,
always, occupational health and safety is always something like that. Like it, chords have got to be like, what are they? Tagged and tested and things like that. I'm like, oh,
yeah. This one was you're installing a particular type of switch. It weighs 40 kilos. These are the dimensions. How would you get it in there?
with
Um,
a lot of force and a couple of boys.
yeah, pretty much, pretty much. And then it carried on to how do you go about doing up installation plans and other stuff we haven't actually covered in class at all.
Okay, so you kind of just winged it, did you? Or
Yeah, a bit there.
okay.
Thankfully, I was able to refer to a bit of the course material for those.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, nice. Nice. Yeah, yeah. Like I said before, it's like if I'm running out trying to grab this motherboard, and I'm like, mate, yeah, what a headache. What a headache. I'm fortunate that like the Brendale, like that, the Brendale intersection where you've got like Bunnings and you're going over
Yep,
like that intersection.
that's
That
Old North Road, Crimson Road.
no, no, no. Go it's the just after the overpass, then you've got the Bunnings intersection. Um, and then you turn left to go to Bunnings, or you turn right to go to Bald Hills, and then you just keep going straight into Brendale.
Oh, that part. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's always a fun part in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it on time, like, but I'm going to give it a go. So went through. Actually, it was fairly reasonable. I'm driving back, and I'm kind of glad I left when I did because it was like heading from where my place is into Brendale was like bad, and then obviously if it's bad going that way, it's bad coming back the other way. So but anywho, let's get started. So, I think the first part is that yeah, just take us through what you did. I'm just gonna follow you.
Okay, so first of all, like you asked, I threw up the JSON for the request body up there.
Yep.
After that, um, I was actually more reading through your test object property,
Hmm.
trying to see how that would work. I added that little section in there. I wasn't sure whether or not that would actually have an impact if that's what the intended goal was there.
Hmm.
And then yeah, with the send object, I just added the convert to JSON, but I didn't know if it needed the return indicator there either.
Not yet. No. Yeah. So we got some other bits and pieces we need to add, but in terms of yeah, you pretty much you've done a right job. So what we're probably gonna need to do, I'll get you to follow me.
Okay.
So what we're gonna need to do here is I think the first thing we need is we're going to need to add some code to basically talk to SQL. So I've got this function I wrote which I'm just going to
You
grab and
you
paste
did
here.
have the invoke SQL query comment below the that should be up a bit from there. There you go,
Yeah.
line 198.
Yeah, so I didn't do anything with the database though. So this function, I always get this function like spaced out wrong. This function, what it will do is it'll allow us to do a select against our database. So that'll be nice and fun. One things we're probably going to want to do is we're going to probably clean this up a bit. So just give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to AFK for a sec. I just need to close the door. Okay, so what we need to do, yeah, perfect. So, I think we need to build out our table structure. We had a bit of an idea, so that's fine. One of the things I want you to do is now have a bit of a think about how we're going to structure our code. So as you can see up here, we've got we've got some comments and bits and pieces there. We've got a whole bunch of functions that we're calling. We haven't really covered functions, have we?
Let me check my book.
I don't think we have.
I think it was we did, but it was in relation to something else.
Yeah, was it modules or was it functions?
It's a very good question.
It's a very good unanswered statement.
I know.
Every time, just so you know, every time people like give me non-answers, I just hear this ding. I'm like, oh, somebody's having fun with cognitive load. Why is he having cognitive load?
No, I'm actually trying to remember.
But that's legit. Like,
If we did, yeah.
Yeah, if you have cognitive load and I asked you last Tuesday, what did you eat for dinner? And you're like, well, let me have a think. Well, that's legitimate. But if I ask you whether you robbed a bank at, blah, 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 that's a pretty defined, that's a pretty,
yeah.
Self-explanatory answer.
Yeah. Definitely robbed a bank, Couldn't get enough of it.
Alright, so let's, what we can do, so what we can do here is we've got, you can see what I'm doing is I'm kind of just breaking out this code a little bit. I'm just roughly doing this. You can clean this up later for me.
Yeah.
So basically we've got I've just put a functions kind of like a bit of comment there so we denote that that's their functions. And it just helps us clean this up a little bit. One of the things we're going to need to do is we're going to need to build our SQL database. So before we do that, we need to actually work out what table structure we have. We did cover that, I believe. Let me just open up whiteboard. So we had tables, remote code execution. So we had looks like we had a couple of tables. ID, PowerShell status functions. Okay. SQL database, basics, for encode, decode. Okay, cool. Alright. So what we need to do, I think that's our column. We actually need to have a couple of tables. What I'm going to do, we need to talk to SQL, so that's fine. So first thing we need to do is I want you, while you're doing that, I'm going to open up my Azure connection. I'm just going to jump in there. Open up Edge. First thing on MSN, class taught to make MDMA. I'm like, that sounds legit.
Yeah, that's
I sound like
great area the world's getting to.
I actually feel like that's might be a little bit sensationalized. I don't think they're probably making MDMA. I think they're probably making like a close variant of it, but it's not MDMA.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, so resource group. So I've just got so much going on here at the moment. Where the hell is that? So I get you to clean that while you're doing that. And can you also create a? I need a param block to splat invoke REST method or invoke SQL request, please. Invoke SQL query, please. So the way you can do that is if you go up and have a look at the param blocks, those are the keys, and the values will just set them to be blank, but we can set them up later. I'm just trying to find where my resource group is, and because I'm like not feeling well, I'm kind of like having a really good man look. MZ, where's the BrisPark? That's what we're doing. So we go to databases. Did I actually provision a database? Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
I just need to install
that. I do
SSMS
recall.
I don't have SSMS. Okay, I need to download SSMS. So SSMS is basically SQL Server Management Studio. If you don't know what it is, you use it to manage databases. Because basically it's in the cloud. Download Management Studio. Yeah, just download that.
If I go to the lesson PowerShell objects, and it's the branch under Git, can I read through what we've done previously?
That should already be in the current branch at the moment because I cloned it from dev. If it's not, yeah, you can flick over. Like, you're in my session, so it shouldn't matter. Just downloading SSMS. So wait for this to done. Once I've got SSMS, I can connect to it and we'll build some tables out. It's been a while building tables, so I think it's a new table. Then I've got to specify my query.
Yeah, I'm just
I'll do that. I'll quickly build this out. Actually, no, you can finish this.
there we go.
Okay, SSMS is done. I'll just quickly install that.
So you want that parameter block
So
copied down?
206 to 209. I want you to build out, those params, those as keys in the hash table on 207 to 209. Just installing SQL Management Studio while this happens, which always takes its sweet ass time. I should probably jump on PowerShell.org this weekend and have a look at what's going on.
SQL parameters.
See if anything's happened. Nope, still at the same price. So we're pushing 8 cents, but it's not. So the goal here is basically we're going to aim to have a basic script built that allows us to add items into the SQL database, and that will basically be this part of the function somewhat done, and then we can work on the other bits and pieces. So it's a good start. Yeah, sorry, I might have a sleep after this. And my wife's gonna be like, "Build my computer." Like, I could build a computer. I could build it, and then it'll be like sitting on a bench, like because it doesn't have anything to fit in. There's no heat sinks or like coolers for it.
Well, we got a young bloke over here at the moment, and his is essentially just sitting on the bench. Doesn't have a case for it.
It's like, nah, she'd be right. You don't need a case. Like, that's the thing. You don't need it. The thing is, though, it's just like it gets really dusty. Like,
yeah, it does. I prefer to have a case because
like
that.
I got a LAN party tomorrow, so I'm not just taking a board. I'm actually going to take the case. That's provided I'm feeling alright. At the moment, I'm feeling pretty tragic. So work's having a LAN party. I'm like after work, so I'm like, I'm gonna work from home, jump in my car, drive there because I don't really want to pay for parking at work, and then rock up and then start going. Well, I've got to install StarCraft 2, and I haven't even played it in so long, and I think my firewall's blocked, and I just can't be bothered troubleshooting it.
I know that feeling.
I'm thinking along the lines of like I don't know, like I think I'm like whether we're going to install it there, rock up at 4, it's going to start at 5, smash it out, but then I'm knowing my luck, everything doesn't go properly, so I probably should just pull my finger out and just install it. Um, Waiting for SSMS to install. So one of the things about you'll learn about with SQL Server is that when you install SQL Server, it doesn't ship anymore with the Management Studio. It's a separate install. They actually broke apart the two just due to the fact that it's supportable. It's better. It's more supportable because the fact that SSMS undergoes a lot of upgrades, like and updates. But the thing is
Yep.
that SQL Server, they're two separate products in terms of like they like one manages the product, but in terms of that they was initially just packaged under the same stream, but now they're broken apart, which is so much better. So much better. Come on. I don't want my stream just me just watching this. Invoke read in this instance because if you look at the, I want you to scroll up and have a look
Yeah,
at.
I thought that invoke read is it's calling a function. It's not actually a
It's a
variable.
switch. So what a switch is basically it's a boolean value. It's with the switch is defined. So if you define invoke read, it's true, but if it's not defined, it's false. So in this instance, what you can do is you can just exclude it altogether, and it'll basically treat it as a false, or you can go invoke read and then basically dictate it's false. We don't need to get the value back because we're updating, and we just need to know that it's updating a row. That's it. So we're just basically just saying update and be done with it. And this is another thing. A lot of people download like the SQL management. My car, sorry, I've got pollen on my nose. I'm like quite. You just get rid of the line. You can get rid of 213. We don't need it. Yeah, I got like on my car. Get in my car, and no joke, like the right hand side of my car is just got pollen, like covered in pollen. And I'm like, my car looks like a flower. So I'm driving down the road, and it's just like, mate, come on, guys, like everyone's looking at me like the flower car, like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen those cars with the AstroTurf glued all over them as well.
Oh, that's probably that's definitely my car. They're like, mate, yeah, he definitely votes for the Greens party, and I'm like, yeah, nah. Yeah,
Flower
nah.
power, free love, bring
Yeah.
it all back.
I'll be like, yeah, have everyone have pollen.
How's your hay fever today?
Yeah, I tell you now, mine's fantastic. All right, I'm just gonna jump into the portal, my Azure portal. I'm just gonna grab my SQL database details. Yeah, we're gonna need to add a username and password thing to it as well. Does that have a username and password? Let me have a quick look. No, it doesn't. It's basically using integrated security. Okay, we need to fix that too. That's fine. Set server firewall. Client IP. Yep. Save that. Just updating that. That's done. Now I'm going to Allmate. Azure search. No. It's been so long since I've done this. I need to change the password as well, I think. Connection strings. That's the one I want. Good old connection string. What's my password? Password is your password. good stuff.
So it's
Cracking,
good when you
cracking password. Yeah, that's right. I need to update this so it can support. Yeah, I've got some code lying around to do that. That's fine, but we can work with this for the time being. So what I need to do is find my password. I think I've got it somewhere. So what? Yeah, so I can actually connect to my Azure instance using SSMS.
Yep.
If I just go SQL Server Authentication. I actually think I did set a password. I just don't know what I set. I think it might be my key pass. I'm gonna have a quick look. Just slide that outside this field of view.
It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, is it? Or
No,
you
I
know.
think it's I actually set something quite difficult. I love it how like I'm working on one screen and then like the focus always goes to the other screen. Like fantastic.
Beautiful.
Oh, it's so good. So what am I looking for? Bruce Park. There we go. Oh, look at that. I did have a password set, and it is not 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah, we're getting somewhere. I'm just going to save it because I don't really care. Alright, so what we're going to need to do is build our tables out. I don't know if you can see my screen. What I've got here is basically, I've got our database. I'm going to need a, what if I create a table on here? Please let me, that'll be always fantastic. Then I don't have to write a query, I can just do it by the GUI. So we can just build our table structure out inside of SSMS. Yes, there's no tables except for the master. So what we're going to need to do here, we had, let me just go back to our whiteboard. So we need to build this out. It's going to be a query window, 100% believe this. Man, it should be faster than this. Oh, sweet. Alright, so first thing we need to do is do an ID. We're going to make that an integer. We're not going to allow nulls. We're also going to have SSMS respond because it's driving me absolutely nuts. So what we're going to do here is I'm just setting an automatic identity. So what this does, so basically what this does is I have a primary key. In databases, you need to have a primary key because primary keys identify that specific entry. They're like a unique identifier. In this instance, we can just have an integer, and I've turned on within here, I've turned on identity. What this basically means is I don't even need to specify it. If it adds a new row, it'll automatically increment the last integer on it. So if the last integer value on the column or in the row was 4, it'll create a new column, and when you create a new column, it'll create the ID with 5. So just little ins and outs of SQL, but that's cool. That is cool. So,
but you mean column or row? Just to
row.
double check there.
This is this is a column, the ID column, but when you add a row, the column ID will be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll show you what I mean when we get to it. Like I've just
Okay, cool.
so we actually need code. So this one. How complicated do we want to make this? I'm thinking we just keep it as simple as possible. What do you reckon?
I agree. I mean,
because I'm like from a usability point of view, you could have like every time the service is installed, it phones home and it registers itself as a computer endpoint. So you could basically you could know what's been installed where. So it's like, but to be honest, I'm just too lazy. Like I'm not too lazy, but I'm just like, we're trying to build something simple. I don't want to overcomplicate it.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say keep it simple because, well, what's simple for you is not for me. Not at the moment, anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So one of the things that I was actually thinking about the other day was I was on Queensland Police's community watch website, and I saw that they had like a whole bunch of like photos, and I was like, I bet you, like I bet you could basically like, just wondering if it's possible to write a Facebook spider that goes through your friends list and of their friends list of their friends list of their friends list of their friends list, because that's possible. You can go through friends of friends and friends of friends of friends. Um, that's a setting that you need to turn off. And what it does is it basically enumerates everybody out there, grabs a whole bunch of their profile photos, publicly accessible, not illegal, frowned upon but not illegal, um, uses their name, and then basically does using Azure, AWS, Google's deep learning AI, basically plug that into it, and then you'd be able to basically run facial recognition across public, um, like across public images. And I was like, you know what? That would be really effective. Like, provided that they had a decent image. Like, and some of those images are quite clear, and I was like, whoa, I think you could actually
The
do that.
the only issue you've got is when people start to put filters on their pictures for social media.
Yeah, so what you could do there is you could actually have, you could put a color gradient checker on it. So if it looks like there would be some sort of gradient that would go over the top of it. So you could do something there, but ultimately all you need to do is go through a few of their profile pics and grab like 5 of them, and that would be enough um, to be able to do it. Anyway, that's all aside. That was just the thought I had, and I was like, you could do it. Like, if it's a side shot, it's a little bit more difficult. But like, if you got a frontal facial shot, you could do image recognition on like that, like facial recognition. And if you pump it into Google's deep learning, that's 100% possible. It was also, that's actually another thing. There was like where I previously worked at Oz, like they do like chat transcripts for courts, and basically what you do is like you could hypothetically take their like the audio that comes through the court, plug that into AWS, Azure, Google, Alexa. AWS is probably the best because Alexa is really really good, and then do voice to text on it. But then when you're basically producing the report, what you could do there is basically you could have like a, I don't know, like you could have like each, like it would basically like it would write the like the text out, and it'll write each version out, and basically based on the responses from the AIs, the each word would then get like a score. So if it had like if 3 of them came back, it would have a score of 100%. So it would write that word in like, and like in black, and then it would highlight it green. But if it had like, like 3 differing results, then we'd write each of the 3 words. So basically, then all you need to do is just go and change the, like, correct what the actual item is. So you could
Yeah,
actually do transcripts way quicker than what you would do by hand, or even with one AI system. So it's basically like, yeah, that'd be very effective. Anywho, we're getting way off topic. We're back on. We've got a column name, serialized CLI XML. That needs to be a varchar max, or an NVR and varchar max. Is there a varchar max? Yeah, we just use varchar. But the reason why is because we know we're storing huge blocks of data, and then we're going to be getting huge blocks of data back. So that's really we're not allowing nulls. It has to have code. So if you allow a null, basically saying that specific row, oh sorry, that specific column in that row can have nothing in it, it's fine, but we're not allowing that. We're going to need a computer name, so we're just going to target that. We'll just use a varchar. Is there a string? No, it's just varchar. That's fine. We're not going to allow nulls. We're also going to put a GUID in there because we need to be able to fetch the GUID item element out. We're going to go varchar max, and then from that, status. We need a status. Am I missing anything, Christian?
let's have a look. What about the code itself?
That's serialized CLI XML.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course. Should have known that one. Hang on, let's have a look. Computer name, code, GUID, status.
what else would we need? Like, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. I don't want to add anything else to it because I feel like we'll just be overcomplicating it.
No, I guess that would be it. Because that's what we're calling for
Yeah,
in our
you know what
objects.
would be good? Actually, you know, there's one thing we haven't put in. Output.
Oh yeah, we need that definitely.
That one, like, yeah, we probably need that. I'm gonna change it instead of from serialized. I'm just gonna get input XML because we know it's serialized as XML. Do we want? I'm just no. It's just overcomplicating. I'm like, we could debug, like we could have a serial, like a different streams for things, but I'm like, oh, I think it's just too much. Like, I think that's good. Like, you've got your input, you got your computer name, so your target.
The GUID, the status, and the output.
Yeah, exactly. GUID status output done. All right, so we've got our table view, and I'm going to call it remote code execution, like so. Identity column is ID. Blocks escalation. Yep. It should have everything it needs to be able to build a thing, so we just hit save. Once we've done that, we've got our table created. Now we can actually start doing stuff with it. I'm going to need to tweak the SQL query because we need to be able to build for a specific user. I'm also going to create an SQL user because I don't want to be using an admin user because we're going to be hard coding the password and people can see it.
Yep.
So I think actually what we can do is we might be able to use Azure Creds to do that. So yeah, that's definitely an option there. But so that's done. You can see that's saved. There's no more asterisks there. So if we refresh this is only a DTU5, so it's like nothing. We can actually do stuff. So if we go, we can actually do a select top 1000. There's going to be nothing in there, but that's fine. We've got our table, we've got our column, so we've got a bit more like we've got a lot more stuff now. We can actually put that back into Sql or Sql SQL, and then basically in our PowerShell invoke. So what we need to do now is if we go back to PowerShell land, we've got our command text. So this is basically this is going to be our things. I'm just going to just copy and paste this in because like I'm just using PowerShell as a giant garbage dump for my notes. So what we're going to need to do is run a PowerShell SQL query. So we're just going to do an insert into table name, which is.
Give me a moment, please.
Yeah, no worries. This is yeah, this is going to be a bit over your head. So I'm like, I don't expect you to know this. I need to go check insert into because I think I'm doing it wrong because that's me. Good old W3 schools. Oh, I was right. Sweet, cool, done. Okay, so now I'm going to put my column items. So we can basically go put XML, computer name, target.
Okay, I'm back.
Weird.
Hopefully.
Yeah, no worries. Oh, I just made a big boo-boo.
Oh, let's have a look.
Let me have a quick look at this. See if it. That needs to be null because it might not have a value, and it won't have a value to begin with. So we need to allow null.
The output.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you don't know any output even when you put an input in. Like you're only going to know the output when the output's basically like being processed. And that's what I thought. prevent saving changes that require a table to be created. Okay, that's fine. So what I can do here is I can just script change a new query editor, like so. I'll fix that up later. We'll just keep going with this. So we got status, and then we got values.
Okay, so you're assigning them a number in the hash table?
I'm formatting it, so what I'm going to do here, just kind of have a look at our computer name, yep, code. So what we had here, so that needs to move up because we basically need to generate our GUID beforehand. We need to clean this code up, by the way. Encoded object. Send the request for the information. Okay. Yeah, we don't need that. That's actually the beginning. So what we've got here is we've got import CLI XML. So that's basically, if we remember from the body of our text, which I'm just going to grab this, which is our request. When I'm working with things like that, I'm just going to copy up and down. So it's going to be request body dot code. Oh, no, we're going to fix this up. We're going to fix this up because this is going to be a huge query. So what we need to do, I'm kind of humming and hawing at the moment. So what we're going to need to do here, so what I'm doing here is I'm basically just going request body, and the item is code. Well, hang on a second. We can just serialize it on the way up. We don't even need to do that. We can just pass it right through. Yep, we're doing that. Don't even need to do that. Then we've got the computer name target, which is request body.computer name. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
So
I
what
mean,
would the next one be? What would GUID be? You can drive there. I'm going to
database.
the GUID. So remember we're inserting into it. So you can drive. I'm just kind of fixing this. I'm fixing my table up. Let's delete that table. Drop table.
Oh. Great.
Okay, that's fixed.
Thank goodness for that.
My stock price changed. Nope.
Still doing your stocks, eh?
Yeah, I'm watching them. I was pretty cut yesterday, but at the end of the day, though, Amy's like, it's going to go up and down. I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't know if I think I'm just because I'm new to it, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I'll eventually get bored of it, and then I just will watch it occasionally. So remember, because we're setting the GUID, we need to pass the GUID into it. So the GUID will be using the GUID variable. So remember how we generate.
So it'll be a GUID then.
No, because we don't even need to. We've already done it up and 224.
Oh yeah. So we just call the GUID.
Yeah, we're just calling the GUID because we're basically passing it into the SQL as well as passing it back to the user. So he knows what it is, as well as we've basically got a point of reference. And then we basically need to pass the status. And to be honest, what do you reckon the status is going to be? Like you can.
This is just to start it.
Yeah. So I want you to think about. Remember how we were talking about the statuses beforehand?
Yep.
We had. I think we wrote it up here.
We had completed, in progress, and failed.
Yeah. So we're just going to write that straight in there. What do you reckon that would be then? Because remember, this is us creating the job.
Yep. So would you create a is it a hash table in there?
No,
So
it'll be a string.
for
Like
the
it'll be
three?
a string because we're just passing a value, like whether it's going to be like. So what I mean, so we're just passing a string item in that, like it's. So I want you to think about we're adding this entry in there, and we wanted to give it. I think it was you wanted requested. No, it wasn't requested. It was in progress. Was that?
Yeah.
So you would write in progress in that. So I want you to write that as a string.
Yeah. Oh, great. Now where did my cursor go? Adding random dollar signs around the place.
It's not like it's not going to be a variable. You're just writing a string. So how do you define a string? Yep. And then what would you write in there? Yep.
Just
done. That's it. So that's our command text. We're just going to be doing an insert into DBO remote execution. We're specifying these columns. So import XML, computer name, GUID status.
Yep.
Values is the request body of the code. So we're just going to, on the initial request that we send up, we'll wrap that in a CLI XML. We've got our request body computer name and a GUID. So I'm thinking now let's clean this up because ultimately that's a really long one line. Even though it's splattered, I kind of feel like I want to make that a little bit more better. So one of the things you can do is that we can make this multi-line, but realistically all we need to do is just escape sequence that. So we just do a backtick at the end of it. That tells PowerShell that there's more than one line. And then we can then just do that. So I'm just going to wrap it inside of parentheses as well because it makes it just for
easier to read.
Yeah, it just feels like it's easier to read. So we're just using in progress. So what do you reckon the database name's going to be?
The database name would be what you set it over in SQL, right? In your SQL manager?
Yeah, so that would be, what would it be? Remote bot database. That's what it's going to be.
And that is obviously a string.
Yeah, you can just hard code that.
I best.
Yeah, one word. Remote bot database. I don't think it's case sensitive.
I like my capitals there.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think it's case sensitive. We actually don't have an instance, so we don't need to worry about that. I do need to set a. I'm going to quickly write. I need to write. I'm just writing a quick to-do here because. So we can add username and passwords. So let's say we've got that part done. So we basically got our body, validated the input. We're going to invoke the SQL query to add to the database. We can get rid of that. Clean that up. We need to create a GUID, so we might as well do. You know what? We can actually do that right up at the top. There's nothing really like that. Can be something that I can actually sit. We can sit it here. Like it's not dependent on anything. So it's the only thing is that like there's other things dependent on it. So I'm just like, well, let's just put it up the top. Like there's no harm in it. It's like not going to break anything. Invoke the SQL query to add to the database. So we've done that. We don't need to serialize because we're just going to pass it straight through. We're assuming that the client's going to serialize because we're just kind of, if we were, what we would need to do is we would need to convert it to CLI.XML. So it would come in as a string, like so. So it would come in as like a string like this, and we would convert it to CLI.XML. And we would need to base 64 encode it. You know what? We are going to base 64 encode it because I am concerned. Oh no, but again, it's going to be base 64 encoded when we pass it in. If we were doing this professionally, we would basically do this on this side again. So we'd validate whether it was base 64 encoded. If it wasn't, we wouldn't base 64 encode it. It just prevents issues with the database and any sort of like escape characters that could potentially break the database itself. So we would convert it to, we would serialize it, convert it to CLI.XML, so an XML data format, and then we would convert that data format to base 64. So when it went into the into the database, there's nothing there that would cause it to have any sort of like there's no ability for like a query to break through, you know, in an injection as per se. So I need to add a username and a password. I'm going to need to check to see if I can fetch, because in Azure Automation you can actually specify them. We might even just be able to like reference a file or something for security, because ultimately we're streaming this, so other people could literally remote execute code to this endpoint. And then all we're doing after that is we're just going to return an object. This contains information I'll return to the sender, so we've got our return object. So we've got our GUID, which is specify the GUID. We've got a status of in progress, which is the same up there.
Hang on, that comment is on the wrong line.
Yep, so what we can do now is we can results table, we don't need to do that, we've already got that, and we return the results to the sender. So basically that's pretty much it. So for 234 lines, it's actually a fairly simple script, and most of it, if you think about it, is all functions doing things like validation and that. And this is the biggest thing about PowerShell, is that that's usually how it is. It's always functions or it's something along those lines. It's never usually if you build your functions out and you're calling your functions all the time, most of the time your functions will be like doing things, and your main block of code will only be like 200 lines. So it's a really quite an easy way. So we're pretty much done there for today. We need to add some bits and pieces here. So I've got to add a username and password. I'll quickly do that now. I also think I need to specify SSH.
You want those to be strings?
Yeah, they need to be strings. You can fix that up. This needs to do SSL as well, I'm pretty sure. So we need to add an extra one. We need to add an extra one, and that will basically be a SSL mandatory switch. So what we've done there is we've just added some changes. So if I quickly go and have a look at the sorry, I'm just kind of having a quick squiz for the, because we're going to build this out. So we're going to build out a connection string. So what we're going to do here, I'm just kind of need to jump back in Azure. I've got it open somewhere. Let's copy that. Oh, I just need to take a quick multiple active results, false, encrypt, true. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of different things we can do. You know what? I'm not even going to do that. We're just going to hard code this because it's just going to add complexity when it doesn't need to. I don't want to add complexity when we don't need it. I think it's just a waste of time. Something's not right there. I'll deal with that.
You need the parameter section.
I shouldn't need it because.
I know that was meant to be above it.
No, well, the things that's already above it. I'll deal with it later. Sorry, I'm just kind of preoccupied.
Oh no, it's just saying it should use secure string instead of string.
Oh yeah, that yeah, fair enough. Okay, so what we're going to do?
Gotta love the debugging tool down the bottom, don't you?
Yeah, it's really good. Clicking true. So I'm doing here is I'm just building out a connection string so we can connect to our database.
So why have you got 3 and 4 there when listed as 5 and 6 in your parameter block? On 145 and 147.
Oh, give me 2 secs, sorry. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
But the parameter block says position 5 and position 6 for username and password, or are they not related?
They're not related. So that basically
Okay.
just is specifying the parameter in relation to the function it's called on, but it doesn't specify the position whether it regards to this. This dictates the permission. So these. So I got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. How is that? I'll get rid of this. That can't be there. That's why. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. So that should connect now. When we go and run our query, we need to specify username and password. So we just pop that in there. Might reference that. But that's pretty much it for today. I'll get you to go through later, and you can just clean it up a bit more. It can do some more cleaning up. And I want you to have a bit of a look at. I'll send you this. What's it called?
So by cleaning up, you mean make it easier to read?
Yeah, just basically make it easier to read. Put comments and things like that in there because it's always useful to comment your code and understand what's going on. Just trying to find. I don't care about that. This is the one I want. That help. Scripting blocks are always good. I want you to add this. This is going to be a bit of a homework for you. This is an article I want you to read. It's going to pop up at the top. It's a dev post by a scripting guy on scripting blogs. I think it was done by Ed Wilson. Let me have a quick look. Ed Wilson's like Ed Wilson and yeah, Craig. So basically, have a bit of a look at that. That's I want you to add that to the script because we're going to add some get help to it so we can actually know what we're doing, and it gives you a bit more like clarity in terms of what's going on with it. So well, let's leave it there for today, mate. I think I'm going to jump off because I'm not feeling too crash hot. But I do think that was a very productive day. So we pretty much finished the first part of the script. We need to test it, but from a code perspective, we're pretty much done. So I do think there'll be some niggling issues there, but you know that's just going to come and that's just going to happen. But the next part we'll basically need is fetching the data. So that's the next part of the script. So we'll be basically fetching data back. We're then going to need to write some other little bits and pieces as well. But we're pretty much on we've made a big step forward. So I hope you learnt a lot. Yeah, and thanks guys if you've joined us from home. Yeah, we'll hopefully see you guys again next time. All right, bye for now.
Catch you later.
See you, mate.